Hello, good evening, and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. This is our Championship weekend review, taking a closer look at the results and fortunes of Huddesrfield Town and Leeds United. I'm Chris Bell, joined as ever by our resident presenter, Stephen Brown. How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Better than yesterday, anyway.
We will come on to that a little bit later. And somebody who also wasn't that great yesterday was our Leeds United expert, Jason Booker. How are you, mate? You all right?
I'm all right, mate. I think I was slightly more positive, I'm going to say, than our Brownie yesterday. I think I tried to find the silver linings, if you like. I'm all right, mate. I'm all right, thank you.
And somebody who's always searching for his silver linings is our Huddesrfield Town correspondent, Stephen Downs. Are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. Not many silver linings this weekend, to be quite honest, but there we go.
Well, we'll see what we can find then for you to clutch at anyway. We'll start with Huddesrfield Town, just because Jay and Brownie did that counselling session. Is that what you do?
Yeah, therapy. So we've called it therapy for a while.
We've called it therapy, yeah.
I'm booked in tonight, Jay, so let me have my chance.
Get it off your chest, mate. Get it off your chest.
I need it more than you at the moment.
I'm here to enjoy it, mate.
I know you are.
That is exactly why Jay is here, to be fair. Steve, I mean, it was always going to be difficult. Opening day, away at a newly promoted side. A long way from home, apart from for Neil Warnock, at least, anyway. A 3-1 defeat. Sum it up, if you can, to start with, before we go into dissecting just how calamitous most of the goals were.
Well, obviously, I'm a true professional, so I won't be using any profanities, but I could use it in one word. It wasn't very good, Chris, put it that way. Home game, really, for Neil. Got off his tractor Saturday morning, probably walked up to the ground and said, right, boys, let's crack on with the first day. Very windy down there. I'm not going to use that as an excuse.
There we go, it's taken less than 2.5 minutes from the wind.
But the conditions were a little bit frightful. Not the start we wanted. In fact, to be honest, for the majority of the game, I would say we were, for large parts, we were the better team, to be honest. Plymouth started well, came out the traps flying, to be honest, and I knew that they would. 100 points from League One promotion. It's always that sort of thing. And then we settled into the game. They scored quite early, really. Hellick missed his header as the ball was floating about in the air. Nichols didn't flapped a little bit, and the defender managed to tap it in for the first goal. So not a brilliant way to start our new campaign. But we got back into it, and we did really well to create some chances. Radoni should have scored a header. Karoma hit the side netting and should have done better with his chance. And then we got a goal, really, decent work goal. And then from there, really, we were the better team, to be honest. We were looking like, right, let's crack on, lads. Now, we put sort of Plymouth back in the place. The home crowd were really quiet. And a little bit nervous, I would think. And then I can't understand really what happened to our defenders. I think they just sort of like went into a daze, to be honest, because the second goal, right, everybody's saying what a great strike it was.
Brilliant, Ballymumba.
Right, Ballymumba. He waltzed through our defence not like Anne Widdicombe on Strictly Come Dancing. Basically, he just went past about 7 players. Sober Thomas didn't run back and just put it in the net, to be honest. It was a good finish. It was a great finish, but the bit from before the finish to the start of the move was horrendous defending, and all somebody had to do was put the foot on the ball and make a challenge, and we didn't. And then 5 minutes later, they'd go and score a third, and that was the game done, really. We were never really going to come back into it then. And the third goal, poor defending again, just stood like statues. And arguably, I mean, this is the weird thing, because nobody going into this season was saying our defence was going to be the most worrying aspect, to be quite honest. And now, after the first game, it's pretty worrying. So, yeah, not an ideal start to the season. Plymouth, I think, will get better. But I thought it was the perfect time to play him, really.
Yeah, you would have thought that obviously there might have been a few opening day nerves, but that didn't seem apparent for Plymouth whatsoever. And this is the thing, when you were kind of in the game to an extent, but then they get 73 and 76th minute, the 2 goals. It kind of knocks the stuffing out and kills things off for Huddesrfield.
But everybody looking at that result, Chris, will go, Plymouth must have absolutely smashed them. And they didn't.
No.
For the middle of the game, between their first goal and their second goal, we controlled the majority of that game. We had great chances to score, put some good moves together. I don't really think Nichols had a proper save to make, to be honest, between those goals. So it was just unfortunate that we didn't score when we should have. I mean, we got that 1 goal, obviously got back, but we didn't go on and capitalise and score a second. And then the 2 goals in those minutes, like you said, just absolutely killed the game off. And you just knew when the third went in, it was game done. And we had to get back up north and play tomorrow night against Middlesbrough. But very disappointing. Not how we wanted to start the season. I'm sure Neil will have said a few words. He was quite critical afterwards. Tried to stay positive, bless Neil, but I think also he will have told 1 or 2 players he wasn't happy with the tracking back from the forwards, which you could tell that was the problem from both goals. I mean, the defence wasn't great, but it was the tracking back that was the problem. People not staying with the runners, and Neil identified that straight away, which was, what he was always going to do.
Yeah, I was about to mention the fact that obviously the ITV highlights show, they were based at Home Park for their coverage, and obviously they had Neil Warnock interview afterwards, in which Neil, to be fair, he threw some names out there of players that he wasn't best happy with, including, of course, Sorba Thomas, and I think it was Josh Caroma one of the other ones that he mentioned. The other point of Caroma is, what the hell was he doing with that chance? He almost had too much time. Netting. I mean, I could have done that with my eyes closed.
Yeah, well, I'm blind and I probably could have scored that. But it wasn't great. But that was our problem last season, wasn't it? I know we scored.
Never been in your good books, really, has he?
No, but right, last season he performed under Neil. Before Neil, he might as well not been at the club. And then Neil came and changed him into the Josh Caroma that we've seen in 2020 and 2021 when he had that good spell. But he's still got to practice his finishing, because chances like that, don't come ever so often in these games, and you've got to finish them. And if you want to be a top player, if you want to be in this league and be one of the best, forward players going, you need to finish his chances like that. I mean, that should be his bread and butter, really. And then, he's never been one for the best of tracking back anyway, Josh. So I'm not going to start expecting miracles from that point of view. Sorba has come back into the team after that loan at Blackburn last season, when he said a few probably unwanted things in the press.
That was the next thing I mentioned, to be honest, was Sorba Thomas, and that obviously kind of even along the lines of wanting to play for a bigger club or something like that. Was it not something like want to play for a playoff chasing team or something? Anyway,
he said
to the town fans at that point, did it? And then he had to come back in.
Yeah, because he said that, and I'm of the opinion, well, hang on, you're one of the players that has well underperformed last season, and you should be coming back, being a bit humble. We brought you from Boreham Wood. Be a bit humble. You helped us get in the mess. Yeah, you performed brilliant the season before. Don't get me wrong, you were one of the best players in the Championship. But now it's time to step up. When things are going badly, you got to step up and be counted. And you helped us get us in this mess, so get us out of it. And he didn't. He went to Blackburn, said what he said. Well, now he's got to come back and he's got to start again, really, in a lot of town fans' eyes. Yes, he gets unwanted stick on social media, and I don't really want to go into all that, because I think there's some absolute, just undeserving people on social media that give him far too unwanted and disgraceful stick, which we won't go into. And maybe it's something the club needs to look at. But again, maybe sometimes Sorba doesn't help himself in some situations with what he has said previously and what he has said on social media as well. But I do think that his performance up to that goal where he didn't track back was actually very good. He took set pieces like he used to. He was, forward thinking, tried to be creative, and actually looked, like he was interested. And he did do track it. I mean, he made one run, bless him, that was 70 yards to the other side of the pitch to tackle somebody. So he can do it. It's just he switched off for that goal. And, I think that's why Neil was disappointed, because I think he sees Josh, Karoma and Sorba quite similar. They're quite cheeky, chappy sort of lads, young lads that love a bit of a joke and a laugh and can be a bit sort of a rogue at times, but can also be special players when times are needed.
Obviously, he started the game on Saturday, but just thinking with that loan spell last season, is Sorba Thomas a player that you expect to see come, the end of the transfer window still in Huddesrfield shirt? Or do you think there's still a potential that he might actually find a way out?
No, I don't think he's looking for a way out, to be honest. I think I'd be very surprised if he is. I think, if anything, he needs to stay here and prove some people wrong, both inside and outside the club. So that's what I want to see him do. I do expect him to stay. I don't think Town are looking to sell him, to be honest. And it'll be interesting to see how Neil develops him going forward. Didn't obviously work with him last season because he was on loan at Blackburn, but I can see him having a similar effect on Sorba as what he did on Josh. Now it's all down to whether Sorba wants it. Josh clearly wanted it, and that's fair play to him, because before he might as well, like I said, not be at the club. But he knuckled down. He played well, and he was one of the reasons why we stayed up last year. And if he continues at this season, fantastic. Sorba needs to do the same now, in my opinion, because he can do it. We've seen him. He can be a great player. He can be one of the best in this division for chance to creating chances and taking set pieces. But he needs to just get back to what he's good at, block the rest of the rubbish outside, and maybe just knuckle down and keep his head down.
I do want to kind of touch on social media to an extent, because obviously it's a dangerous place at the best of times. But what's the overall reception from Town fans been to that opening day defeat?
Not good. Not good, to be fair. I think there is a certain, it happens with all clubs, doesn't it? Like I'd say if you ask the majority of Town fans on a match day, we are a very supportive fan base overall. Like tomorrow night we'll get behind the boys, and all that sort of business. And I think generally we are a decent fan base in terms of, trying to, even when times are bad, we'll have a bit of a moan and we can be quite dour. But at the end of the day, we do get behind the team and do our bit. 1,700, 1,600 went down to Plymouth. That's an unbelievable effort for in this cost of living crisis, where it was 46 quid on a coach and it were, I don't know, 23, 25 pound a ticket. And it's 7 hours there and 7 hours back. So that was an unbelievable effort to get that many down there. So especially with the not being the optimism there is in the ownership and that part of thing, but not in the team necessarily, because we haven't had the transfers come in. So that, we always back a team, but unfortunately social media is not just a football problem, it's a society problem. And people go on social media and use it in a way where they wouldn't normally talk to people in their everyday lives. And it's a problem that all football clubs have. And unfortunately, you have sections of people that use it in a pretty not nice way, to be honest, and shouldn't be on there. But that, unfortunately, is not, controlled by Huddesrfield Town. It's controlled by a billionaire man that wants to send rockets into space. So, it's we've just got to use it to the best of his abilities, really. I don't necessarily agree with stuff that's put on there. Yes, can be a massive overreaction, and there needs to be some sensible thinking. It's one game in. You can't be relegated on the first day of the season, as much as I want Leeds United to be. But
here we go.
you know,
I've toned it down, to be honest. On social media, I used to be one of them popping the tweets off. Like, what, if I were watching a game live, slagging this player off, slagging that player off, and then when you read it back, you cringe.
But the thing is, crazy. The thing is, Steve, right? We've seen in interviews recently and I want to stick on Town if I can, but we have seen it recently in interviews with like Dele Alli, and the amount of crap he got on Twitter alone, and that's just Twitter, never mind Instagram and Snapchat and all the rest of them, was horrendous. And then we've come out and he said what he had to say, and I thought personally he was very brave in what he had to say and come out and but nobody knows these issues, you see. And then you look back on all the social media that happened around that time when he was at Spurs, and you just think, what world are we living in when people can just say and do what they want without any consequence whatsoever? It's just a bit mad to me, and that's why I always try. You look at my tweets. I mean, my Twitter is just full of Town stuff. I don't really ever comment on anything else because I think if I'm going to do that, I'll do it over a pint in a pub with you lads, on a Tuesday night in Stoke, or whatever. I'm joking, but you know what I mean? Rather than popping off on social media and making myself look a bit of an idiot, really.
No good comes from it, does it? Like there's nothing productive come from it. And I mean, I've been guilty of it in the past, and I find myself trying to educate bloody morons online all the time. And I don't know why I do it, but you're absolutely right. Like,
I love it when your tweets come up, Jason. You reply to it's entertainment for me.
Some of them are just so dumb. They're just so dumb. But no, Steve's absolutely right in that, like, the way that you can kind of just say whatever you want and get away with it. It's actually disgusting. Really.
It is.
You'd never say it in person to them because you just get you'd get filled in, wouldn't you? So
yeah. We said about Sorba. I mean, if you go on Twitter and type Sorba Thomas in and look at some of the absolutely horrendous things that's been said about him over the last 6 months, he's just tantamount to disgraceful behaviour, to be honest.
Yeah.
And to me, they aren't proper supporters. These people that are saying these things, they're just not. They're not fans. They don't want to support the club and the player himself. They just want to rip somebody down just because they've made a few quid out of a game that we all love and want to watch. And to me, that's not what football's about. Football's about going there tomorrow night, supporting the boys on the pitch, trying to get behind your team. And I don't mind being critical of the club and the team if they've had a bad performance, like against Plymouth. But that's for football reasons, not for personal reasons. Yeah. And people love to make personal, attacks. And it does me head in sometimes, and that's why, like, on the occasion that I've had to roll myself back from kicking off really on Twitter, particularly because I just think it's just it is the wild west of social media, isn't it? Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Are we doing Threads yet? Have we moved over to Threads?
Oh my God, what is Threads? I'm at an age now where
I downloaded it and then I was like, nah, it's not for me.
I'm 33 now. Like, I'm just too old for new forms of social media.
No, but there's literally one coming out like every other month, isn't there? It's a bit mental, really.
That came out to replace Twitter when Twitter went all behind a paywall, didn't it? And it lasted for about half an hour until people realised that Twitter was still fine.
Unless someone brings back MySpace, I'm done with new social media.
MySpace.
Bring things back to football then, and I mean, come on, I'll give Steve and Jay a chance to react on the Huddesrfield result before we move on to the upcoming games. I feel like this could be a risky move, admittedly, but
I've got to say I was banking bad karma because as soon as Plymouth scored, I was straight in the WhatsApp group, writing Warnock's resignation letter and all this, and I was just banking that bad karma for the Cardiff game on Sunday. I thought I shouldn't do this. I need to be more mature about this because it'll come back and bite, and it did.
It really did. I mean,
literally 24 hours later, we were 2-0 out of Cardiff at home. So
the one thing I would say is, to be honest, I reckon you could have basically picked any team to go to Plymouth on the opening day, and Plymouth would probably have won.
They've got the best home record, Chris, in the whole football league. I mean,
I think it's an extremely difficult place to go for the first game of the season. And I think, when you're dealing with any of the promoted sides in any division, I think you always find that there's a carry through of the momentum. There's, the riding the crest of the wave. And I think Plymouth, for me, has always been a tricky place to go. Like, I don't know if it's just because of how far down south it is. I don't know. Like, it just feels a bit different to a normal away day. So I thought it was a tricky game. I mean, that's why it was part of my ACCA. It had nothing to do with it being Huddersfield.
Didn't you, Jace?
I picked. I had two sets of ACCAs, one with 3, another with 3, and that one came in. And then, I had Swansea and Birmingham to draw, which came in on the other one, which gave me a sprucey little bonus. But it was almost like a home banker. It's as good as you can get for an open day when you've got no form attached. Plymouth at home against a team that are probably going to be bottom half, let's say. I think that's a fairly strong bet. So I don't think you can read too much into it. Some of the defending were terrible, but that happens. Like, you're going to make mistakes.
TV show when it was like all about Plymouth, wasn't it? Like from this top, and you were like, it were always going to be a Plymouth win.
But to be honest, I'm glad we've got it out of the way. Who wants to go there in February? I'm glad it's done. To be honest, let's move on now. And it's like, obviously we've got tough fixtures coming up, but let's just move on now. Get it out of the system. Hopefully, that's the loss that we need to bounce back now, and it just brings us all bit down back to earth. And I think Neil will have to bring in some players. God, I hope we met some signings.
The squad does need some work, doesn't it? The squad does still need some work.
We need a striker and we need a midfielder. And Jordan Rhodes is going to Derby by all accounts. So, that's possibly 2 forwards that we need. Maybe we definitely need 1. We also need a midfielder because Kasumu's injured now. And we've got some very young players in that midfield, and Hoggy can't do it forever. He's already started the season injured, so we need some creative midfield really, and we need a striker. I'd say centre backs. We've still got Utah, so although Pearson went off injured, we have got Nakayama to really fully come back in. So I'm still not as worried about the defence, but my God, we just need to sign some players, bring some positive sort of attitude. I mean, Neil's made some inquiries and players have apparently turned him down, which is disappointing. But I get why that might be. I mean, maybe Warnock is not the full factor of, why, obviously, because the players will be looking at him and going, "Well, you're not going to be here in a year, and I don't know who's going to come after you." So maybe that'll be part of it, but I hope we can make some loan signings. To be honest, just get some lads in that got a bit of quality about them.
Yeah, some bodies in the door and some fresh blood into the side. Before we come on to Leeds, just a quick look ahead then for Huddersfield, and obviously the next league game is no easy feat. That's Leicester next Saturday. Before that, there's a Carabao Cup game tomorrow night, Middlesbrough at home. Now, Neil Warnock did kind of hint in that interview on the highlight show, on the ITV highlight show, that he's certainly going to give some of the fringe players a bit of a run out and probably see a bit of full rotation, really.
Yeah, I can expect Kyle Hudlin to play, Kian Harrop, Ben Jackson, players like that were on the bench, and maybe some Ayanya at centre back, who's an academy player. So I don't think the Cups is. I don't think he's that bothered about the cup. I think he'd love to win the game but he's not going to sit in his office stewing afterwards if we're going out. Leicester at the weekend, let's just hope we don't get back. To be honest, I'd really like to. It'd been so town won it right that we'd lose to Plymouth. We'll go and draw at Borough and scrape through on penalties or something like that, and then we'll go beat Leicester 2-0, and it'll come out of nowhere.
Leicester were lucky though, weren't they?
It'll be so town like that. I think the good thing is Leicester obviously aren't up and running as quick as they want to be. It's also another 2 weeks closer to the window, isn't it? So, there's players still wanting to go out that side, aren't there? So I don't think they'll be going in, hopefully, all guns blazing into tackles with a Jonathan Hogg at, 60 mile an hour ready to break legs, will they? So let's just hope they're not as up for it as what they could be. But yeah, tomorrow I'll just go sit there, enjoy myself. Let's hope it's not cold. To be honest.
And on that note, on that bombshell, I hope it's not cold. Just before we go on to Leeds, a big thank you to those that have been in touch so far. Luke Walsh, cheer up lads, at least the mighty Shaman won, up the Football League we go. I'll be honest, I did not see that result coming for Halifax.
Well done, Halifax.
Yeah, well done, Halifax.
To our resident Evertonian, who tunes in quite a bit, to be fair, Rick. Well, evening to you. Right then, Brownie, Jay, have we calmed down and decompressed a bit since yesterday?
Yeah,
I mean, Jay, you were more positive than me anyway, weren't you?
I felt pretty okay with the situation. I always try as best I can to deal with things with a bit of perspective and a little bit of context. And the first half was terrible. We saw, actually, let me start again. There was 2 moments in the first half that were terrible that led to 2 goals. There were some passages of play in the first half that were all right. We saw a bit of what Daniel Farke wants to do. And going forward in possession, I thought we looked all right. We created some chances, which I think with an out-and-out number 9 would have probably been in front before we conceded the first goal. Cardiff are a bit of a banana skin for Leeds anyway. And I think on paper, the team that they put out yesterday were fairly strong. There was some...
I said to you yesterday, didn't I? I put that. Yeah, I kind of written Cardiff off before the start of the season, but it wasn't until I watched them and was saw that lineup on the telly and thought, you know what, that's actually a far better squad than I thought Cardiff had nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of depth they've got, but certainly the starting 11 that played, they had some good moments themselves. They had some good quality on there. So I think for us to then, go in at half-time with the mood and the feeling, we've still got a bit of a hangover of relegation, to be able to come out in that second half and made a couple of adjustments and to play the way that we did second half, keep going and get a 92nd minute equaliser. I think we have to take the positives from that. You saw how up for it the players were, how much it mattered to them to get that equaliser. And we saw some fantastic performances from the likes of Archie Gray. Somerville was fantastic yesterday. Sam Byram came on and played really well on his second debut. For me, I think there was some serious positives to take. Of course, we wanted 3 points, but if we'd have scored another goal yesterday, the same problems that we'd have had would have still existed. I said to Brownie on the review yesterday, if we'd have won the game 2-0, the problems that we have would still have existed. We'd have just been buoyed by the fact that we got 3 points. It didn't mean that the problems disappeared. We knew this were going to be a tough season. We knew there were going to be challenges. I think anybody that was just we're going to walk the league, we've said it time and time again, they've got their head in the clouds. So, for me, not the end of the world, and really, really good to come away from it with a last gasp point from 2-0 down. So
I thought you were lucky, to be honest.
I mean,
no, genuine. I mean, I only had one eye on the game because I was busy losing 8-1 to Lincoln playing but I thought you were 2-0 up. I couldn't believe Cardiff taking a 2-0 lead really, because I don't expect them to do amazingly well, but I think your forwards players got you back into it. I think Somerville were outstanding. Thought Sinistera were very good. And to say you didn't have a striker on the pitch, I thought them forward players got you out of a bit of an hole, to be honest.
I mean, the 4 of them that started up front for me, apart from Dan James, the way beyond the Championship. I think Dan James is probably top level Championship player. I think he's probably right where he should be. So absolutely, they should carry us in games while they're there. If they are there all season, I'd be confident that we will score the 75 goals that Daniel Farke says that he wants us to score this season. Even probably without a number 9, out and out number 9. The point is, though, is that in them key moments in the games, and I said this to Brownie yesterday, Dan James did great. Took it to the byline, flashed one right across the 6-yard box after about 6 minutes. And if we have an out-and-out number 9, we won the loop.
Culture, innit?
Yeah, we won the loop, Chris, and the game's totally different. We don't go 2-0 down then, because the game state's completely different, and that's why it's so vital that we get an out-and-out number 9 that is reliable, that's going to be able to play. So, I mean, we definitely weren't lucky in that we had so much of the ball. We dominated the second half. I mean, we absolutely dominated the second half. I think we finished with 27 shots on goal to Cardiff's 5 or 6 or something. So, but I get your point in that to come from 2-0 down, you always have an element of luck, especially when you score in the last couple of minutes. You know, they only had to defend another couple of moments and they win the game. So I hear you.
I mean, arguably, without the new rules, if they hadn't been that added on time, you'd have lost the game.
So, I mean,
they added on time, by the way. The added on time, by the way, was a sham yesterday in that second half. It should have been about 12 minutes, 6 in the new rules. I thought that at the time, but anyway, it didn't matter.
What was added on in the end?
Say again.
What was added on? Sorry, in the end.
6
minutes. Yeah. It should have been 12.
That's for the lowest I've seen anywhere. Because even at like Rochdale on Saturday, there were 9 minutes on the second half.
That's what I'm saying. It's been 9-10 minutes. I mean, the
13 minutes at Leicester, wasn't it?
Yeah.
13 minutes. Yeah.
The amount of delay that Cardiff put whenever it went out for a throw-in, substitutions, the goal, the injury to Cooper were 3 minutes, and that were in the second half. So
that lost it for them, Jay. That's not lost it for them, but lost them the lead. If they hadn't been prattling about with that, you know, with the throw-ins and stuff, it's their own fault at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do get the impression though that, you know, referees are now just kind of adding more on regardless, because no way has there been as much time wasting as all the added time makes out. It's just
it's a bit mad, isn't it?
I love it, mate.
Do you think they'll keep it up, or do you think in about a month they'll just go, "Oh, sod this"?
Well, I just don't see how they can change it mid-season with something as crucial as that. You know, they've started with it. I can't see how they could, because it's almost like changing the game to an extent. Like nowadays, you know, the way it is, you can always guarantee you're going to get an extra 10 to 15 minutes of play.
But I like it, Chris. I like it because referees are being stronger now. We saw at Southampton v Wednesday, you know, kicking the ball away instantly.
They weren't having it, were they? Yeah,
they weren't having it.
Again, there was 2 of them on Saturday for me at the Rochdale game. There was 2 yellow cards for kicking the ball away. The first one I didn't even notice until I'd seen the highlights. Was like,
I think it's fair. I think it's great. I mean, it is what it is. Like, there's no exceptions. You didn't need to do that. There were 2 back-to-back within about a minute of each other on Friday night in the Sheffield Wednesday game, where opposition players did it within like a minute of each other, and the referee, I thought he refed it really well on Friday night. I thought the referee had a great game.
Town fan, by the way, Bobby Madley.
Yeah, whether through the fact that Kevin Friend, his boss, was sat in the stands watching. I don't
know. His brother Andy sits just behind me at Town.
Really?
Andy Madley, everybody he comes in really quiet. He's the only one in the stadium that doesn't shout the referees are. It's quite funny, really.
Then. Go on, Joe.
I was just going to say before it went on, I thought McGuinness had a right game for Cardiff yesterday. I thought it was fantastic. The centre back, I thought it was excellent. Blocks, like everything, it was just underneath everything. I thought it was excellent. So sorry. Go on, Brownie.
I was just going to give Steve his chance to be a little bit more down about it.
Do you know what it was? I felt the pressure straight away. I said to Jay, like before the morning of the game, I was like, I feel a bit anxious about today's game. I was kind of excited, but I felt that anxiety. I felt that pressure, obviously. Southampton winning, then Leicester won, and you have that idea in your head you're a relegated team as well, and you need to keep the pace. Obviously, it's a long season, another 45 games to go. But yeah, when we went 2-0 down, I mean, honestly, I can't even tell you what I said. I just couldn't believe it, because you were watching last season on repeat, and you just thought, I really thought we were going to, put that to bed this season. But then when you look at the players, and me and Jay were talking about this yesterday, it's the same defense, and that
I was going to come on to that. I wanted to touch on that because I mean, obviously, Helder had that loan spell out. Was it Rotherham? Where was very successful. So, I mean, I got the impression from Jay when we did the season preview on Thursday that Jay was actually kind of looking forward before yesterday's game, that is, to seeing what Yelda could do in a Leeds shirt. Obviously, for the most part, it was the same back line. And to be fair, one of the funniest things, I think, to come out of yesterday's Leeds result was a Twitter thread that I saw saying things you could put in the space that Leeds including the Eiffel Tower and the White House.
The problem is, Chris, with Yelda is that he's not being played in the position that he should be played in. That's the problem with Yelda. We'd like to see him, have some involvement in the games, but in his natural position at centre back.
Yeah, he can. I mean, I'm going to say this loosely. He can play left back, but he's more and more most the centre half.
We both said yesterday, didn't we, Brownie, that he moves like a centre back. Yeah. He runs like a centre back. He approaches the ball like a centre back. So when you're then asking him to do full back roles, especially going forward, he's doing it like a centre back. So he just looks out of place. And even then going and attacking the ball from a defensive point of view, he's in the wrong positions while he's doing it because it's just unnatural for him. You can tell it's unnatural for him.
I mean, what I'm taking from this is something that me and Brownie were talking about on the show back in January, and that Leeds United need a left back. Shock horror.
I mean, it's been going on and on for years. I mean, it really has. I mean, we've got this guy called Junior Firpo who's just... He's injured. He's in... I mean, what Messi must have thought of him in training, I don't know. Messi must have been, where did you pull this guy up from? But, I mean, he gets injured every pre-season, so he's never prepared for the season. Every single season, he's never ready to go. Start the season. I think he had one half-decent month where he was competent. And you thought, there might still be a player in there. But it's one of them positions Leeds United just cannot get right. I mean, I can't remember the last solid left-back we had at the club. Never seems to work. I remember when we got Barry Douglas years ago, and that was meant to be the solution, but it didn't really work. We ended up playing Dallas and
Alioski.
Whoever else. Yeah, Alioski,
Yeah, but didn't Dallas do a good job there?
Yeah, Dallas, I mean, you put Dallas anywhere on the pitch, and he was
but again,
he was decent.
He's right-footed. He's inverted. He always came inside. Like, he did do a good job there, but he did as well as a winger would do there, if you know what I mean, or a
square
I
peg round goals.
I remember one season at Town, right, where we had all our defenders, full-backs, centre-backs, everything, were all right-footed. We didn't have a left-footed player that could play in defence. And that's when we signed Mark Hudson. He was the only left-footed defender at the club.
Yeah, but this is my thing. Leeds have got loads of left footers. We've got so many left footers at the club, and we don't have a left back. We don't have a good left back.
If we went down to League One, I wouldn't want Junior Firpo playing. No. That's how bad he is. He's honestly so bad. I'm being deadly serious, Steve. Honestly, I could go on and on and on talking about
Sign Lee Peltier back.
He's that bad.
Get Pelts back.
Peltier's so far past that, and he was terrible at Leeds. If I had a choice between him and Junior Firpo at left back, I'd pick Peltier. That's how bad he is. He's so bad.
I'd pick Ian Hart now when he's about 50.
I would.
I can't wait for this to go viral with Spanish.
Put Eddie Gray.
Yeah, I would. I tell you.
Eddie Gray.
Get out there.
So bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in the team. Yeah, the defense is. I mean, it's scary, to be honest, and it's not going to be good enough to get automatic promotion. I don't think it's going to be good enough to get promotion. I think it'll undermine all that attacking promise that we've got, to be honest.
There's a lot of time for the window still. Yeah. I mean, you tell me, where are things with the Leeds United transfer market? Is it back to Western Front?
Well, this is it. I mean, we were having a chat about this yesterday because I think the problem is teams have Leeds over a barrel at the minute because we've got release clause contracts. We've still got another player that can go out on loan. I think the club is just being reactive and thinking, right, we just got to see who's going to go. Tyler Adams is linked to Chelsea today for 20 million, I think. But if we get that fee, I think that'll happen. That'll open things up. We might be able to bring a couple of players in. But I really think that we're not in control in this situation, which is a big worry.
20 million?
That's his release clause. We only signed him for 17. So, I mean, I'm all right with it. Tyler Adams is replaceable for me. Like, I think he's a quality player and with what he does. But in terms of what he does do, I think really Ampadu does what he does and a little bit more. if I'm honest. That doesn't mean that I'm saying that Ampadu is a better player than Tyler Adams, but
for Chelsea, though, James,
I don't know. The thing I did,
Chelsea, it's not Chelsea quality.
He's a squad player.
I slightly disagree with you there, Jace, because I think Tyler Adams is phenomenal at the job he does, and I think Ampadu's had one game for us, and I think it's. I know what you mean. When you look at Ampadu, I think there's a lot in his locker, passing vision, but I think for what Adams does, I think he's phenomenal.
I think Ampadu's a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in all the aspects that you need from a midfielder in that role. Whereas I think Tyler Adams is a 9 or a 10 out of 10 as a destroyer in the midfield. His specific role he's very, very good at, but then he's got weaknesses in the other parts of his game. I mean, he definitely could go to Chelsea and play a part, Steve. I definitely think he could, but
Chelsea fans don't think so. I don't think.
For 20 million
that's why I'm surprised.
Yeah. Nothing nowadays. I hate to say it.
I mean, if I were Chelsea, I wouldn't pay that. I'd go and pay the money for James Ward-Prowse.
Well, I knew that was going to. Let's start this debate. This was a horrendously long week.
No, not now.
Let's go into this.
The Chelsea are talking about buying them both, Caicedo and Adams. So it's not one or the other by the sound of it. It's probably going to be both.
Well, they've sold them to Saudi Arabia. They've got the money to do it again.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah,
that Caicedo, he's been wanted at every blooming club around Europe. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Really, he's just...
quality player. Just on transfers, Chris, I've seen in the last couple of hours Joe Donohue's put forward Pantelis Chatsidiakos from.
Nicely done.
Yeah, do you like that? It was good, that, right? From AZ, 27 appearances for the Greek national side. Don't know much about him, but he's well rated. He's played in Europe over the last few years, so
he's good on FM. I can vouch for that because
I knew you were going to say that, Chris.
Davis in Eredivisie with Volendam. He's told me.
I knew Chris were going to say that. He's bought him money for. He's done a save with Geisley, hasn't he? Built him up for like 10 years, and then brought him in as 36-year-old striker. I can tell.
No, he's a centre back. He's a centre back.
Oh, centre back. Well,
I got Halifax down to Championship on FM a couple of years ago.
What was it novice mode that you were playing?
I know you can't select your modes. You can't select your modes. You just got to deal with the cards.
Let's not discredit it like that. Then Shrewsbury Town. I mean, it's the Carabao Cup and all that. Again, probably not crucial in the grand scheme of things for Leeds United, but certainly off the back of a tricky result, at least against Cardiff, something that you'd look at and think, well, back to winning ways, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, chance for a couple of squad players to get some minutes. Let's see what Joffy can do, Gellart. Let's see what Pavedi can do, possibly getting a start. So, yeah, get a bit of confidence going. But Leeds United in cups just doesn't go together. So, fully expecting a 1-0 loss or something, which will be great because me and Jason are going to the game. So that'll be fun.
Oh, is it at home?
Yeah,
it is.
I remember losing to Shrewsbury in 2015, and I was like, my world ended.
I think it's semi-important, Wednesday. Like, not from a perspective of the cup, but just to continue creating good feeling and, Daniel Farker to be able to get a little bit more out on the pitch and see what his players are about. I can't imagine that there's going to be wholesale changes. We've only got 16 fit first-team players, so I can't imagine there'll be all that many changes. I'd imagine that we'll see Darlow. I'll imagine that we'll see Byram at left back and Yelder will probably start centre back or something like that. I think there'll be a bit of change, but I think Gray will play. I think Ampadu will play. I think the front line will play and the majority of Paveda might come in. But I would imagine 8 or 9 will be the same that we saw yesterday, personally.
Joe Gellart likely to start or not, do you reckon? I mean,
probably.
I hope so.
Because all this talk about strikers, and obviously Joe Gellart was getting some decent experience at Wigan before he joined Leeds. So he obviously had that brief spell where he suddenly seemed to come good off the bench for Leeds in the Prem in that season, but just seems to have completely fallen out of favour and by the wayside. And you look at him and think, poor lad, you must have thought at one point, hey, if I'm catching here, to suddenly be back out the side and especially at a time when shock horror Leeds need a striker.
To be honest, it's disappointing. It's disappointing because he's someone that you thought, sky's the limit with him, and by now you're talking 2 years ago when he was making those impact appearances off the bench. You would have predicted, 2 seasons on, he would be not a mainstay, but certainly more prominent than he is. But I don't know. When he plays, he just doesn't seem to take the opportunity. He doesn't really impact games. And he was tried at the number 10 role in pre-season. That didn't work. Doesn't work as a kind of sole striker. We're not sure on his position, really. And I think it's a bit in danger of passing him by, I think.
I'll take him at town.
How old is he now?
12. He's only 20 or 21, I think. Maybe 20, 21, I think.
I said to you the other week, didn't I, Brown? He just does nothing brilliantly. Like, he's not got a part of his game. We're talking about Tyler Adams earlier being a 9 out of 10 out of 10 as a destroyer. Joffrey's not got that. He's not got an amazing turn of pace. So he's not particularly quick, so you can't ask him to run in behind. He's not particularly strong, even though he's stocky. He's not really a strong target man. He's not skillful enough to be beating players one-on-one. He's okay at all of it, but he's not brilliant at one individual thing. So you can't then give him a specific role in the team to go out and hurt the opposition. I think that's why when he came on in them fleeting moments, it were a bit different. Teams were a little bit more back to the walls. We were always chasing the games. He was fresh. So yeah, I think it's a really tricky one with Joffrey. I think his best position will probably end up being as a inside forward from the right. I think that's probably where he'll end up being the best, but I don't know whether it'll be any higher than middle of the table championship, personally, unfortunately.
I'll take him. We'll have him.
I'm going to say about that. I was reading Stephen Chicken in the Examiner, and he was saying about one of his points were about strikers with Town and Wardy. You get a lot of work, but when in his day, it's not his day. And what we're going to do? Do you think they'll do something striker-wise, Steve?
They've got to. Like I said, Jordan's off to Derby by all accounts, and I don't think Neil wants. As much as Jordan's a nice lad, I just don't think he wants him around. Wardy, we know, can get 10 goals a season, but that's about it. Works blooming hard for the team, but he's not. He's just not a strike force.
Me and Danny played football together for school.
Yeah. You ended up on it, and he's a professional footballer.
that's the one, mate. That's the one.
Have you still got contact details, yeah, Joe? Have you still got a number for him? Yeah.
I don't know if I do. I don't know if I do. We weren't like close or anything, but we went to school together all the way through second school, and we did play together. Yeah.
No, very good player. You got him on Facebook.
I do have him on Facebook.
Yeah. Send him a message. Get him on here.
Yeah.
Listen, right, Ward is a really nice lad, and he's always done his best for Town. Like, you'll never get a Town fan saying that he doesn't try, because he puts 100% effort in. It's just sometimes those quality bits that we need off a striker, Wardy just can't do, and that's fair enough. But we need a striker. I mean, Hudling's been the surprise, to be honest, 6'9", and the rest, and for such a big man. He's got what a touch he's got. He's got a great touch on him.
Yeah, he never used to have that touch, mate. Believe me. I saw him on trial for Guiseley in what would it have been? Probably the summer of 20. It was that period after the first lockdown before the second one when we were suddenly allowed out the house again. Yeah, and he was on trial for Guiseley at Thackley in a pre-season friendly. I think he played the second half. Looked like Bambi on ice for the most part, sadly, and it just didn't work out. But I was like, fair play to him. Obviously, he went to Solihull Moors after that and scored a few goals to his credit.
He scored that screamer for him, didn't he? And it kind of made people started taking notice of this 6'9" striker. He was linked to Man City at one point. I don't know if you remember that. Like, he was genuinely linked with Manchester City.
The physical aspect to start with, it's remarkable. But I would genuinely, I'd love to see him suddenly start doing well.
He did in pre-season. He scored a few goals, and he's made he's been that man where he's laid the ball off for other people to go on and create chances. So I've been really impressed with him, to be honest. And he's only young still. He's not I think he's only like 22, 23, yeah, something like that. Kane Harrett's I think 20, 21. So, and he's really raw still. So that's the problem. We've not got experienced strikers that Warnock needs apart from Ward. and Rhodes and that. We just need like somebody in that's going to come in. Tyree Simpson's gone to Northampton. Obviously, didn't fancy him. So that's our big problem, and we need a creative midfielder. There's 3 weeks left for the window. All can happen. Hopefully, Warnock pulls something out of the bag. For you guys, for Leeds, I think you'll get the players that you want just because it's Leeds United Football Club. That's not necessarily the case for us, unfortunately.
It's going to be later in the window.
Yeah, I think your deals will sort yourself out. For us, it's more about who's available and can we actually afford them, because I just think we're struggling money wise, even though we've got a new owner. Believe it or not, I think we are. It's just that we're having to be so careful because of FFP, because of what happened before, and the fact that Dean had to set a budget that we've now got to work to because the ownership didn't change till July. And I just think their hands are tied behind the back a little bit, and that's unfortunate. It's not like you guys at Leeds where your owners were already in place, really. So that's why I think you've been able to spend the money a little bit more freely.
They were there, weren't they? The owners, did you see them all? The basketball players and whoever else it was that were there.
Nagel was at Plymouth. He was he turned up in his black suit and his Land Rover with the tinted windows. Yeah, he was there. He was. I bet he loved the performance. No, he didn't actually. He was really sad. He did an interview with Stephen Checkin, and I think he was. But you see, for somebody who's not been involved in football, it's gonna be a quick learning curve for him. It's the Championship don't hold back, as we all know. It's the maddest division in the world.
Speaking of folk that are not used to our football, at least, obviously next up for Leeds United, I want to touch on this briefly. It's Leeds touching down at Tom Brady's Birmingham City.
I know, yeah. I know, very impressive day, you see. That's it.
Did you see his video? How they announced him?
No.
It was really good, to be fair. He was like, it was typical sort of American Yank type sort of media, but it was. I thought it was really good. It's so unlike Birmingham. You expect like a Chinese owner to rip them off, don't you? Something like that, like they have for the last 20 years or whatever. But no, listen, more American owners are coming in, aren't there? And it's changing our game. So,
how big's his stake? How big's his Tom Brady's actual stake in the club?
This with a pinch of salt, though. Genuinely, 100%. Allegedly, he was talking about investing in Rochdale before Birmingham became available.
Chris, so close, mate.
Allegedly, he was like, it's one of those things. People are trying to put 2 and 2 together. There was a fans forum at Rochdale last week, and during it, something was said along the lines of there was going to be an American investor who has now gone to now investing in a Championship club, and we all looked around and thought, well, the only one that's going to announce that is Birmingham. I mean, it just would have been nuts. But Birmingham seems to be kind of going with that. That kind of good news from this Tom Brady investment seems to have certainly been doing something for them on the pitch as well, even in this early stage of the season.
They've got a lot of confidence in the manager as well, haven't they?
Eustace. Or useless, as some Birmingham fans call him. I think the thing that swung it for Tom Brady was the fact he didn't like fish and chips with that chip shop behind the Rochdale ground, to be honest. Couldn't get his fish. But,
to be fair, it's about time they had some good news. I mean, it's been Villa, isn't it? Villa are doing so well. It's about time that Birmingham had something to cling on to.
It's been bad news for the Blue Half of Birmingham for a long time, really, hasn't it? Now,
yeah, for a long time. I think, on to the weekend for us. I think that the transfer window, in a sense, will take care of itself. I said to Brownie yesterday, if we have a couple of options in that we lose a couple of these players and then, are able to supplement other areas of the squad which definitely need improvement, then fine. If we keep all the players, then the squad will be a bit unbalanced, but we will have quality within the squad that nobody else in the Championship will have. Yeah. So I think either way have got the positives and negatives. We've been linked with Mikel Antonio today. That's really a pretty strong source. Yeah, that'd be a great sign. 33 now, a bit injury prone, but would be a top signing.
Not the left back.
He's not a left back. Yeah, we're not playing him left back.
He could probably play left back though. He's chunky enough, isn't he?
He's played wing back at one point, I think, in his career.
On that Forest.
Forest,
yeah. Forest.
But so I think we'll see the movements come in. I do. I'm a bit more optimistic than Brownie. And if we get to the end of the window and we're and we've not, then we can go to town on that then and talk about that then. I think.
I can't wait. Can't wait for us to do our Deadline Day special. We definitely need to try and do something with Deadline Day this year.
That'd be good fun.
We should get the yellow ticker tape up at the bottom and just say Huddersfield Town will not be signing anybody for the 30th day of breaking Deadline Day history.
Don't go to bed just yet.
Yeah.
That's
yellow tie on.
That's your.
Will not sign a left back.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, Steve looks a bit like Jim White, and Chris, you could play Natalie Sawyer, couldn't you? I think just generally the best two results at the weekend, bar our teams, was Ipswich winning at Sunderland. I thought that was a master stroke. And Watford absolutely destroying QPR. If Ainsworth isn't sacked in the next 5 weeks, that football club is going to be ruined.
I thought Sunderland were excellent first half.
Yeah, they were, but Ipswich just ground it out, didn't they?
The goal came out of nowhere, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Don't matter though, Jay, does it?
Yeah, no,
they beat him. They beat him.
Leaf Davis on full show. That cheesed me off.
Back.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Ipswich double promotion. You never know.
No, I wouldn't go that
Madder
far.
Things have happened. Madder things have happened.
I like Kieran McKenna a lot, mate. I think he's quality. I think he's top manager. Top manager. He's got some story behind him, you know, Kieran McKenna. Like he had a career-ending injury at about 19, 20. Became like a first-team coach at about 23, I think it was, something like that. Came through at Spurs, didn't he? And then went on at Man United. A really young assistant manager at Man United. Some story behind him.
Best manager in the division, yeah.
What, right now?
Well, yeah.
Ooh, no, that's Daniel Farker.
I tried to trick him then. I tried. I knew he wasn't going to say Warnock, so I thought, well, I might as well go in with it, Anna.
As for Watford and QPR, I mean, I don't think it says anything about Watford. I think
no, it don't.
QPR are an absolute mess, aren't they?
Yeah.
To be fair, I think when you looked at that QPR side, they were playing young Joe Gubbins, who I think is 21, 22-year-old, and spent last season out in the National League South on loan. And I think it's a left back as well who was at centre half. Like they've had to be fair, they've had a really bad injury crisis during pre-season. But yes, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I really hope it somehow comes good because I'm a massive fan of Gareth Ainsworth. He was a legend at Lincoln as a player, and I've always liked him as a manager at Wycombe, to be fair. And I really hope it works out, but it's just becoming more and more difficult to see any way in which it's actually going to turn around for him.
Don't you just think that Wycombe were just the perfect storm for him? It was like a biome just for him.
This is the problem. Yeah, this might be one of those situations where a ban. I mean, to be fair, pipe down, Steve, down before we even start. This might be one of those situations like the Cowleys were brilliant at Lincoln. Hasn't worked out.
How long was he at Wycombe for? How long did it?
Years.
Yeah,
years,
he was
wasn't it? Yeah.
What minimum of like 8 years, I think.
Yeah, it took him in the championship twice or once.
Once. It was once. It was once. And they didn't really perform in the champ. But they were never gonna. I mean, the squad was horrendous.
They only got relegated on the last day, though, didn't they? They only got relegated on the last game of the season.
They fighted well, but it was always going to be tough for them. I agree, Chris. Yes, his story at Wycombe is like what the Cowleys was at Lincoln, so I can't disagree with that. I've spoken about the Cowleys before, so I'm not going to bore you on that one. I also think it's a bit like, is it Derek Adams at Morecambe or something like that?
Yeah.
You know, but on a smaller scale.
Did really well at Morecambe. Went to Bradford, was dreadful and dour and depressing. And then has gone back to Morecambe. And, I mean, yes, they came down, but he's reshaped the squad completely this summer. And actually, they might have half a chance.
Yeah.
I'd give you another one. Nigel Clough at Burton. I would consider him similar.
Yeah. Nigel Atkins at Scunny.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because to be fair to Nigel Adkins, he also took Southampton.
Southampton, yeah,
but until he went to Southampton, I mean, he did he did a hell of a job at Scunthorpe.
Yeah,
I mean, they got him in the Championship, and my mate was a big Scunny fan. I think Scunny were like in the top 10 at one point in the Champ. I mean, look at them now.
Billy Sharp and Andy Keogh up front. Remember that?
Yeah.
What a strike force that was.
That's how far back Billy Sharp goes. It's unbelievable.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You talk about to like a 17-year-old about Billy Sharp, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
That old striker at Sheffield United to a kid nowadays, and that's all it is.
Yeah,
but back
what
in
a
the
player.
day, I mean, it says a lot though about how far clubs can fall. That obviously we reminisce about how good Scunthorpe were back then with that pairing, and the fact that they started the season with a 1-1 draw away at Tamworth in the National North at the weekend. That's how far clubs can fall.
Wild, isn't it? It is crazy.
For granted.
I love that era of football, you know, because I miss the old Sky Sports theme tune, you know, and they used to have the big bubbles, and they used to come in, and it used to be that certain song. I just love that era of football, and you'd see like Knockout with his big spiky hair for Watford, and it'd be like, yeah, just love that era of football. Love that era.
There we go. I think any other business, or is it time to wrap it up, lads?
Well, Chris, I was just having a full disclosure. Chris is our resident Lincoln fan, not a West Yorkshire supporter, but I was just checking their result. I wasn't aware of how they'd done, Chris.
Yeah,
what happened there?
Anyway, time to end the show. So, yeah, it was a bad day at the office.
Do you know the worst thing about that result? Because that was a great result for my other half, who's a Barnsley fan, right? The worst thing about that is every time a goal went in, she kept texting me that they'd scored another, and I was like, "Yeah, we're losing 3-1 to Plymouth. It's so depressing." And she's going, "Oh, we scored a 6th. We scored a 7th."
Yeah, it was quite the score for Barnsley, wasn't it? The weekend.
Yeah. They were on my acca too.
Yeah, so it wasn't Lincoln that they were playing. I'll just point that, but yeah, it was. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, there we go. I was quickly, whilst you were talking, I thought you were going to fill for a second then. I was trying to sort out and find the fantasy football code. Because look, that's again.
Yeah.
Find the code.
We do
so
it.
there is a fantasy football league for the West Yorkshire Football Show. Check out our Twitter, or X as it's called now. We're just putting Twitter. It takes it to the same place. It's fantastic. Check out there. We'll pin it at some point because, of course, the Premier League starts this weekend. We might do something to look ahead for that whilst we'll talk about everything else later in the week, I suspect, as well. But, yeah, we'll round it up there for tonight then, gents. So thank you to Stephen Brown for joining us.
Thank you, mate.
And to Jason Booker and Stephen Jones, our club correspondent, shall we say.
That's lovely. What a title.
Sounds professional.
Cheers, lads. We will be back with more programme, I'm sure, during the course of the week, looking ahead to the weekend's action. Thanks for joining us here on the West Yorkshire Football Show.
Cheers, boys.